It's safe to say that Dubai has had one of the most radical transformations over the past 50 years. What was once a desolate desert is now one of the most advanced cities on the face of the earth. From robotic self-service checkouts, skyline views that look like they should be in a Marvel movie, to 7-star hotels where pretty much everything that looks like gold actually is. Naturally, when you think of Dubai, you automatically associate it with extreme heat, extreme materialism, and also extreme wealth. But is there more to this country than you might see from the outside? And what does it actually look like to live in Dubai? At the end of 2021, my entire life changed. Why? Because I moved into this exact apartment, left the UK, and moved to Dubai. Now, what changed in that time frame, having lived in this apartment for 3.5 years, my professional career, my personal life about to become a father in 3 years, and also my business, which has exploded. Now, moving here wasn't necessarily easy. It was the most terrifying thing that I've done. And I moved here with nothing but 4 suitcases and a clear vision of what I wanted to do. And I execute every single day in these 4 walls. Now, moving here in the first few weeks and first few days was incredibly scary and incredibly different, because I moved to a different country on the other side of the world, completely different culture. And it was a big perspective shift for me as someone who grew up in Surrey in the UK with green fields and the countryside. Now, when I first moved here, some things were actually a lot different than they are right now. One of the things I particularly liked, drop in the comments if you agree, is actually their weekends used to be Friday and Saturday, and Sunday was a working day, which actually made the whole thing feel slightly more different. And one of the things I actually found difficult maybe when I first came here was probably to kind of snap out of holiday mode, because you've got the sun, you've got the beach, you've got 3 swimming pools in this building, it's basically a holiday resort. Is how do you actually optimize your lifestyle to get your work done, but then also enjoy yourself at the same time, which is what I see a lot of people struggle with when they first move to Dubai. And my purpose of this video is to give you the honest perspective and truth of someone who's lived here for 3.5 years, because I've seen a lot of people spouting lies online about what it's like to live in Dubai, like it costs you 10 times as much in terms of food, you can't do X, Y, Z. And in this video, I'm going to debunk all the myths that people trying to build up about Dubai that aren't true. Now, when I first moved here and moved into this apartment, I thought this was a lot of money at the time. So this is a 3-bedroom, 4-bathroom apartment, full marina view. It's got massive balcony, and it's 260,000 dirhams, which is about 60,000 pounds a year. It's about 5,000 pounds a month. And I thought that was an outrageous amount of money at the time, bearing in mind my background as a estate agent. Now, in hindsight, it was actually a great deal, because this apartment now is about 400,000 dirhams. And one of the good things actually renting in Dubai is it's kind of difficult for them to increase the rental prices. So if you get a good deal on a property, you can kind of keep that rental in for a long period of time. Now, to talk about some logistics and finances when you first come to Dubai, the most important things you actually need to do is you need to get your company set up correctly. You also need to make sure that you have a good accountant who can hook you up, make sure everything is done properly. Because one of the big mistakes I see that actually wastes a lot of people's time, they get fined, they get problems, is they do not do one of these 2 things. I was very fortunate that when I moved here, I got connected with a very good accountant who absolutely crushes. If you drop me a message on Instagram, the word accountant, I can send you his information, his link. I'll actually drop it below in the comments and in the description as well, so you can click on their link and check out exactly what they do. But they handle everything from that side of things. So you need to make sure you have your company set up done correctly, whether you have that done in Dubai or somewhere like Fujairah where mine is. And you also need to make sure that you have payment processors to be able to take payments and transact in your business. And then next up is bank accounts. So bank accounts can kind of be a bit of a wild west out here. So personally, the easiest bank I recommend people set up with straight away, I have 0 affiliation, is YO. And then in terms from a business banking perspective, you can also use those. So you need to have a personal bank and a business bank account. I would recommend having more of one of each. And this is a huge thing you have to have from the beginning. So YO is a digital online bank. A lot of the other banks here are very, very archaic and behind. And this is one of the things that I'd say is maybe slightly behind the West here in Dubai, is actually the banking system. If you're from Dubai, you've heard about the OTP codes, you will know exactly what it means. Every time you want to put a transaction through a bank transfer, you need an OTP code. It's kind of archaic. And this is the only thing that probably is catching up now with a lot more digital banks coming in. So when I first moved here in 2022, YO didn't exist. There was barely any banking options. And when I first set up my first bank account with Rack Bank, I literally had to sign like documents that were like this deep in terms of every single one. That's how in-depth the process used to be, but it's very streamlined now, and Dubai is actively trying to pull the best people in the world to this country right now and incentivizing you in every single way. Now, the reality is I'm naturally a very introverted person. So when I first moved to Dubai, I didn't really know anyone. And I thought it'd actually be very difficult to kind of make friends, meet new people. But the reality is it can be further from the truth. And why? Because if you want to be a very successful person, you probably want to hang out with very successful people. And in the UK, it's very difficult to meet other people maybe on the same wavelength to you. Like you go to the pub in Hampton Court, you're not going to find someone who's running a 7-8 figure business. But in Dubai, you talk to the dude in the elevator and he's running some massive global operation. And this is the difference here in terms of everyone's very open-minded, very collaborative, and they also are willing to kind of share ideas, right? What I find in the UK in particular, everyone is very closed-minded and very protective of their secrets of what they're doing. Whereas here, everyone's here for one reason. They really want to try and win at life and up-level themselves. And they really want to share information, share connections, and really try and push each other on to the next level. And instead of seeing someone, for example, who is really successful and saying, kind of, screw that guy, taking inspiration from that, which is really like the ethos of what people who come to Dubai and are successful have. Now, to be frank, some relationships here do kind of feel transactional, but the people who tend to be in those type of relationships tend to be quite upfront and straight about it. So at least they're not kind of like beating around the bush. And I think that's one of the reasons why Dubai can be a bit of a transient place where some people don't settle down because they don't necessarily kind of vibe with that type of energy. Whereas I think you just need to be very open and kind of take it for what it is. Now we've jumped. We are now in my new house in the Palm, which we will reveal in another video. Now, one of the things I wanted to touch upon is social circles, finding your tribe, as it were, in Dubai. In my opinion, this is very, very easy to do. And this is easy to do because one, there's a lot of networking events and people are actually just very open to do that anyway. People generally in coffee shops or wherever will just talk to you. And if you're from the UK, you might find that also a little bit weird because at first, if you're from the UK, people don't generally talk to people they don't know. But here, everyone tends to communicate. Why? Because everyone is an expat. Everyone also is kind of here for the first time kind of thing. So second thing I'd say is there are a lot of sick business events, like big masterminds. I hold a lot of them, networking events, and a lot of things you can go to meet the best people in the world. And you have the best people fly into the world constantly. I also have a podcast called The Charlie Johnson Show I would check out. And one of the things that's helped me phenomenally with that is the constant talent flow of people coming in. To the point, actually, as we were filming this, someone just sent me a voice note of someone else who's got 500,000 YouTube subscribers who wants to come onto our podcast. And this is an example that you wouldn't get these opportunities everywhere else in the world, but it's also an opportunity in terms of why did that person get recommended to me? Because of a friend of mine who I met here actually through my partner. And that's how different people try and support each other, although they're technically kind of competing doing the same thing with podcasts. And that's where it's just a different kind of mindset. The other place where I say is great from actually a networking standpoint is I mentioned actually in terms of gyms. If you go to the right gyms here, it's phenomenally easy to meet the people who kind of like your tribe of people. The other thing I'd recommend that if you do like training in the gyms is that you get an app called Privily, because that will allow you to go to probably 300 to 400 different gyms under kind of like one umbrella. And it's very, very cost effective, I think maybe 700-800 dirhams a month. And it also allows you to go to a lot of the beach clubs and stuff here on the Palm and on the rest of Dubai included. Now, what surprised me the most about living in Dubai is how this feels like home now. And if I actually leave, I feel alienated as if I'm in a foreign country. Now, what I'm going to talk about next is some of the extremes and some of the difficult things you don't realize about living here. Now, one of the things I think is interesting to try and understand is the extremes. And I think about this now living on the Palm a lot, that you have extreme wealth. I walk up and down this road. Every single one of these houses is worth a minimum of $10 million. The probably most common car on this street is a Rolls Royce. So you have people with extreme wealth, but then you also have kind of not extreme poverty, but people who do not earn much, who are like kind of the workers, pool people, security, all that type of stuff. And I think it's a kind of interesting comparison where you have the haves and the have-nots. And it's kind of like the way I'd explain Dubai is like the extremes of the world. It's like the best people in the world, and then the people who kind of like the lower class and do a lot of the jobs effectively. And there's no like kind of middle class essentially. Now, the reality is there's no like if, buts or maybes about it. They're very like black and white in terms of like how everything works here. And I think where the West maybe has it muddles, we try and even the playing field by trying to maybe kneecap the people who are trying to be successful. Where here in Dubai, it's like kind of free for all. You can kind of do your own thing. And they will let you, if you want to go and crush it and build a really successful business, you can do that. And people will kind of clap you on rather than trying to tax you to death and hold you back. So I think that'd be one huge thing. And I'd say second thing is like kind of the abundance mindset that comes with seeing the amount of success there is in Dubai. It allows you to really try and like think bigger because you see bigger all the time. Like where we are right now is literally like 3 miles out in the middle of the sea. They built this. Like this isn't supposed to be here. We're literally in the middle of the ocean. And that's an example in terms of like thinking outside of the box, being innovative, and also going big, which is kind of what this city's built on. Now, fun fact about the Palm, they actually had a lot of structural issue here when they first made it, so it was actually like sinking slightly. So they had to put around like the outside, I think crescent bit is called, wasn't actually originally supposed to be there. So to actually fund the entire project, what they had to do is actually make the plot sizes smaller and actually squeeze in more houses. So there's probably not many places in the world you see like a $10 million house where they have like such small plots, but that's an interesting story for you. The truth, people say Dubai is fake, but the most fake thing in Dubai is often women's backsides, not actual people living here. Now the reality is people are building real businesses, real families, and really settling down. Now, what that basically means from an outside perspective is people will look that people have, for example, I can see across the street, someone's got a Bentley, they've got Rolls Royce, whatever else it is. That looks fake to people who do not have money. But if someone is successful, why should they not be able to buy the things they want? Now, it doesn't mean you have to be dripping head to toe in fucking diamond jewelry, but the reality is if people want to drive around in nice cars, it's kind of up to them. If they want to have a big house, it's kind of up to them. And this same thing happens everywhere else in the world. The reality of why people think Dubai is fake is because it's hyper concentrated. There is not anywhere else in the world with as many billionaires and millionaires in such a small like square mile, like square few miles as Dubai. And that's why it probably seems disproportionate if you're from the arse end of the UK or the US or wherever, because you're just not used to it. And what I actually found very interesting, even going to like capital cities, so for example like Paris, you see supercars here like all the time. It's just like seeing a Renault Clio or a Volkswagen Golf. But you go to somewhere like Paris, I didn't see any. I was like, that's kind of interesting. And I see it almost the opposite way around because you get used and conditioned to certain things here now. And I think it's just one of those things that people who will say Dubai is fake, it's just because you're not used to it. It's just a slightly different culture. But when you actually meet the people here, they're often like the nicest and kindest people and very straight and direct with you and really willing to try and help and push you to level up. And I think that's where people don't understand that often I think the most fake people are the people who are calling people fake, not actually the people here who are perceived as fake. Now this place isn't for everyone. It's given me the life I've wanted, given me the opportunities I've wanted, given me the connections I've wanted. It's inspired me, motivated me, and helped me go to the next level because I took the risk, I took the leap. And I'd recommend to you watching this video right now, if you are considering it, come to Dubai for a few weeks, see what you think and give it a try for yourself. But in my honest opinion, it is the best place in the world you could be living right now, in particular if you want to grow a business and grow your net worth, if you do not have to pay tax, and you can also be in a land where everyone is kind of singing on the same hymn sheet and we're all kind of going the same way, it makes things a lot easier. And if you're watching this video and you want to know how you can live in Dubai without being a multimillionaire, check the video on screen. We'll talk about how you can live in Dubai on a budget. Took value from this video, hit the subscribe button and we'll see you next video soon.